My name is Mitch Stephen, and I've been buying a house about every 4 to 5 days for over 2 decades. That's 100 houses a year for almost 20 years. Now that and $7 will get you a cup of coffee at one of those expensive coffee houses down the street. But I do know a little bit about this industry, and I'm going to share it with you today. And today's topic is how to do bookkeeping for real estate. And the answer is not what you're thinking, and 99% of you are going to love my answer. Bookkeeping is crucial to any business, and especially real estate. I failed at it miserably for a long time. In fact, it's one of the biggest thorns in my side until recent years. I finally got a handle on it. I can't tell you how important it is to make sure that your books are in order for a lot of different reasons. So the answer to how to do bookkeeping for real estate is really simple. Don't do them. Let a pro do them. Delegate it out. That's the task at hand. Delegate it out. Find someone who knows how to do real estate transactions, understands real estate transactions, and give it to them. That's how you do bookkeeping. That's how I should have done bookkeeping a long time ago when I was trying to do it myself and messing it all up. The problem with me was I thought I couldn't afford bookkeeping. It was really quite the opposite. I couldn't afford not to get a bookkeeper. So today we're going to talk about why it's affordable, how to find the right bookkeeper, and then last but not least, the real value in bookkeeping, and you'll see why spending the money on a bookkeeper comes back tenfold. Now that 99% of you have decided not to do your own bookkeeping and that you're going to sub it out to a third party, let's talk about why it's affordable. It's affordable because when you're doing just a few transactions early in your career, the bookkeeping bill is really small. I mean, they really charge by the hour, right? So if you just have a few houses to keep track of every month, it shouldn't really be a big bill. As your business grows, so will the bookkeeping. But you should be able to handle it. It's a tiny piece of everything you're bringing in. It's like a little percentage of every deal. And the bill gets bigger as you get bigger. My bill last year was $18,000. But I didn't need an $18,000 bill when I first started out. Here's the point. You make money writing contracts on expensive houses that you don't have to pay that much for. You make money negotiating great deals. And you need to be out doing that, not figuring out the bookkeeping and entering stuff into computers. Really, you don't. And you shouldn't. So take a look at what you make buying and selling houses. Cipher it out. Do that bookkeeping. Figure out what you're worth an hour. And then figure out what your bookkeeper's charging you. And you'll see what I'm talking about. It's way more lucrative to negotiate great deals on houses. And that's where you should stay. And that's how you're going to, in your mind, convince yourself to afford a bookkeeper. Because it doesn't make any sense not to afford one. Do that bookkeeping. Do that number crunching. Please get to that conclusion quickly. So how do we find the right bookkeeper? First and foremost, let me tell you, not all bookkeepers are the same. It's the same way in every industry. There's the good ones and there's the bad ones. The other thing I want to tell you is real estate is not the same as everything else. I mean, most businesses have widget in, widget out. Service guy goes out, sends a bill, comes back. This is not that. Real estate transactions can be all over the map. In fact, almost every single real estate I do is a little bit different. And the bookkeeper that handles this has to know that difference because it could mean the difference of where they categorize things or your depreciation, or I don't even know enough to tell you. But I know that it's different, and not all bookkeepers are really good at bookkeeping when it comes to real estate. So the question becomes, how do we find the right person? And I would start with the real estate clubs in your state, not just your city. I mean, it'd be nice if you had a bookkeeper in your city, but bookkeepers don't have to be from your city or really even from your state or really even from this nation. I have a friend personally that has bookkeepers overseas in the Philippines that are doing a good job for him. But you could start by going to the local real estate investment clubs, expanding to the bigger clubs in your state, and just posing the question in the chat or wherever you can talk to these groups of people, Facebook, wherever, and say, who knows a really good real estate attorney? Who knows a really good real estate CPA? Who knows a really good real estate bookkeeper? Okay? Let people start telling you and giving you recommendations. If you know a bookkeeper, but maybe they're not the right bookkeeper for you, never be afraid to ask the bookkeeper, do you know someone who specializes in real estate? It's like anything else. We kind of congregate in niches, you know? You'll find all the real estate people at a restaurant one day or at a club or somewhere. The same thing with bookkeepers probably. They probably have associations. They probably have conventions. They probably know a lot of each other. So if the one bookkeeper you're talking to, A, is too busy, B, isn't specializing in real estate, then just ask them, who do you know? They probably know someone who specializes. One thing I want to caution you of though, when you're talking to the bookkeeper, make sure they really have time for your account. I have found some super bookkeepers that were great. The problem was they were overloaded past their gills. They were filled up. I wanted them, they wanted me, they took me, but they could not give me the service I needed because they were just too busy. Seems to be a trend. You know, I've had bookkeepers that were good and then they overloaded until they weren't giving me the service I needed. Make sure you sit down with the bookkeeper you're contemplating hiring and say, you need to make a promise to me. You will not take on more business than you can handle because I need a certain level of service. You need to tell me that you're not going to do that. And then there's a 50-50 chance they won't. If this kind of content is valuable to you, please hit that like button and let us know. Also hit that share button because it helps us immensely. You'll never know how much it helps us. It does help us a lot and we appreciate it. Also, if you're not subscribing, go ahead and subscribe. There is a lot more. 20 years worth of experience I'm going to try to get through over the next year in little bitty bite-sized doses. Also, if you stay till the end, I'm going to give away a free webinar that I think you're really going to appreciate. So stay with us. I'm going to give you one last topic on how to do the bookkeeping for real estate, and then we're going to go out to the next episode. Now, as promised in the beginning, I'm going to tell you the real value of bookkeeping. Yes, we need it for business. Yes, we need it for planning. Yes, we need it for budget tracking. Yes, we need it for confidence, peace of mind. The biggest reason in the world is you've got to be bankable. Being bankable can save you a fortune. When you deal with the banks, you're going to get much lower interest rates when you deal with private individuals. When you deal with banks, you can get money typically for a longer term. It's just all around better. So this is what happened. We use private money or our own money to get things up and running and stabilized. And then if we're bankable, if you've been doing the bookkeeping right, if your CPA has been doing their job with the bookkeeping you've been delivering to him, then you're going to be bankable. And then you can go down to the bank and you can say, I did all this on my own or with private lenders, but Mr. Banker, can I cash out all this spreadsheet of people over to a lower interest rate in the longer term? And if they say yes, and they will say yes if you have your records right, then you're going to save tens of thousands of dollars per year because you took the time and you made room for the expense of the right bookkeeper and the right CPA. Now, this ought to convince you that the price you pay for some bookkeeping is irrelevant to the amount of money you'll save when you start dealing with banks. It should convince you of that because believe me, the last time I took 35 houses down to my banker and said, can I convert this private money over to your bank and cash my private lenders out? Can I borrow the money from you? And they said yes. It changed my financials $35,000 a month in cash flow. That was the amount of money that I moved over and the savings in the interest rate and the length of the term that they would stretch me out. When it all added up, I was cash flowing up $35,000 a month. It made my bookkeeping bill and my CPA bill look like chump change, but you got to be in it for the long haul. One of the reasons I needed desperately to have my bookkeeping in order was because I needed to be able to go to the banks, and this is one of the reasons why. You can have $1 million or $5 million or $10 million worth of private money, and if you don't get bankable, then you're going to have to keep getting more and more private money because if you're doing the seller finance strategy like I do, my money doesn't go out for 6 months and then come back. If you're doing house flipping, the traditional house flipping, you borrow money for 6 months, you fix up the house, you sell the house to somebody on a new loan, they cash you out, and you give the money back. In essence, you could use the same $1 million over and over and over, house after house. But in some strategies, like my seller finance strategy, where I sell the house on 30 years worth of payment, when I borrow money to buy my house, I'm borrowing that money for 10 years, 15 years from my private lenders. So when a private lender says, yeah, I'll give you $1 million, I go, okay, that's about 4 to 5 houses, maybe 6 houses, and that money's out now for 10 or 15 years. It's not coming back. I'm paying them back on $50,000 for 15 years, and I've sold my houses for $100,000 on 30 years. The whole deal's set, and it's a magical thing, and it's a great thing. I just ran out of $1 million. I got to go find another $1 million. But if I'm bankable, I don't have to go find another private lender with $1 million. I just get a spreadsheet with all my houses on it, and I take all my private lender debt over to the bank. They cash them out, and now I've got all these private lenders that trust me. I've got their money back to them in their hands, and I can go out and start buying the town again. I didn't have to go find new people. So let's just go over it again. Use private money, buy a bunch of houses. Then you take them all over to the bank, you cash out the private lenders. Put the private lender money back into your private lender's hands. Then you go borrow it back from them again. So in essence, you could buy the whole town with $5-6 million worth of private money. Get it out, take it to the bank, give it back to them. Go back to them, get it back out, go. It's just an endless circle. That's why you need to be bankable. That's why you need good books. As promised, it's time for me to deliver on that gift I told you I was going to give you. So I'm going to get you a digital download of a webinar called The Art of Creative Real Estate Investing. And in that webinar, I'm going to show you how I've used the seller finance strategy to create an entire career and proliferate for over 20 years. It's been one of the most durable, most dependable strategies I've ever seen in real estate. And I'm so glad that I stumbled into it and that I recognized what it was and that I've stayed with it, because through the recessions and the pandemics, this strategy holds up. And it not only does it hold up, you're most likely to boom when there's chaos. And that's exactly what's happened to me so far. All right, that concludes this episode. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you at the next episode.